Hello, YouTube. How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to whatever this is. Again, another video. Another stream that I've decided to do to just talk about stuff that's kind of interesting to me. That's been interesting to me this week, and I still have no name for this. Just like in the title of the video, it says I don't know what to call this. I have no idea to give it like an actual name, just pop up here and there. I want to kind of avoid the whole whatever cast thing that a lot of people are doing. Like there are like Nash Thundercast or Nash Thunderclap cast or something like that. I just don't feel like doing anything like that at all. I just think something more original would be something that would stand out, would be a little bit more apropos for me. And I'm sitting here using big words, and I don't like using big words because I can't think of what I was going to say. But again, welcome. Another live stream on YouTube. Again, unprepared. Just going to talk off the top of my head for these things that kind of interest me right now this week. And they're in video games, entertainment, whatever you want to put it. We're going to just go as long as we can. We're actually going to do something a little different. We're going to actually watch some videos and react to them this time as opposed to the last stream. I got one or two queued up. And, two of the big things we're going to talk about tonight is one, this new scandal that involves Sweet Baby Inc. If you're not familiar with that, we'll talk about that. And then Avowed came out this week, and it's garnishing a bit of mixed reviews on the game and just how people are taking it and things that are going on with the game since the last time I looked at it. Because keep in mind, I'm a little behind on the day because, of course, I worked and I was pretty busy today at work, so I didn't get a chance to take a look at a good bit of the news. But we'll kind of start where we would start. Like if you had just walked in, you have no idea about that. But other than that, that's just pretty much it. So pretty much I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. If you come in, you catch me in here, and I'm not boring you to tears, then I think I've done something right. But obviously, I'm not. So, just bear with me. I'm not very good at this right now as opposed to when I do my gameplay streams. I'm not very good at that either. But, this is just something I'm wanting to try to do. And if I can keep going, hopefully I will get better. I don't even have an intro for this thing yet because I haven't even had time to sit down and make an intro. I was just now able to get some of my clips that I use on my Twitch stream over here. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to use them or not, but we'll see. We'll see about that. Well, let's go ahead. Before we get started on anything, let me do like the other YouTubers do here on YouTube. Hey, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. That would really help me out in this algorithm or something like that. And then towards the end of the stream, I'll go over the rest of my plugs. I guess, what is it, like? Thumbs up? No thumbs down. No thumbs down. Well, if you feel it's warranted to give me a thumbs down, give me a thumbs down. And comment down below. Hop in the chat, say hello. We'll talk a little. Stuff like that. Again, not very good at this on this side of it. One of the bigger things I wanted to talk about from the last stream that I was on and kind of give an update on it, the PlayStation Network outage from last weekend. So we've gone several days, no issues at all. Sony is going to reward us for our time with 5 whole days free on PlayStation Plus. 5 whole days. Now, how's that going to work exactly? Because you've got monthly and you've got yearly. How does that come out? How does that balance out? I haven't, and this is based off the last bit of information I've gotten. I don't know if they've said anything else. Maybe we'll look at the end. um, as far as how that's going to work. I don't even know if they've even said what happens. What happens? What has happened? Still in the dark about, was it a hack? Was it somebody that was disgruntled from the layoffs? Was it just somebody just flipped the switch and they couldn't turn it back on? Was it something? But I will kind of equate this out to my real life dealings. PlayStation Network goes down last weekend. The software that my job uses for a lot of the back end stuff that we need went down for 2 days as well. So something's going on here. It's too coincidental that you've got two major online programs, and one of them, the one I use at work, is through Oracle. And if you're not familiar with Oracle, Oracle is like it's like a company that does a lot of back ends for retailers and other positions, like to kind of set up an like a hub to run businesses, if that makes sense. It's very funny. Several things are going down. Several things are happening in like a row, and it's just like it's getting to the point of where it's becoming more than a coincidence. Yeah, I'm putting my tinfoil hat on and throwing out conspiracy theories, which I'm not typically accustomed to. But a couple of weeks ago, you got the planes, that thing happening, all within the same, within a few days. You've got this internet, you got PlayStation Network going down, and then other back ends going down as well, which you're not going to hear too much about those unless it's going to be like something that's going to be huge and catastrophic. Like back in, was it 21, I believe? In 21, the payroll service Kronos went down. And it's the payroll system that you would use at your job to clock in, clock out, manage your payroll, manage your time cards. Sometimes you'll go in there and that's how you apply for your benefits, stuff like that. And that affected a ton of companies. And a lot of these companies were freaking out because they didn't have a backup. They had to resort back to pen and paper. Now, at the time I was working at GameStop, GameStop had it embedded into their POS, an old payroll system that we used when I was there 8 years ago. And, I came back to GameStop for like 6 months back in 21. And when it went down, we had the old backup. Luckily, me and one other person were the only ones in our area that knew how to work it because we used it, some time ago. But every other company was freaking out. Some people weren't getting paid on time until they got it all straightened out. And then the Kronos thing got cleared up shortly thereafter. So, you got to start looking at this stuff as it's starting to it's going beyond a coincidence. What's the next thing that's probably going to have issues? We could probably have cell phone issues. Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile going down for an unexpected amount of time, which that's going to hurt a lot of stuff because a lot of people are glued to their phones, especially kids. Kids won't know what to do if you can't get on the internet on their phone. They just will not know what to do. But surprisingly enough, that is not the majority of the world. It's only some of the people. You'd be surprised with a lot of the kids that I've seen around here, and they're not really got their nose too buried into their phones. Because it's one of those things with kids is if it becomes too mainstream of a thing, they're not going to want to have anything to do with it. Like my niece, for example, she's not on all the social media sites. She's only on some of them, and she says she's barely on her phone. So it may not be that big of an issue, but there are a lot of people who do have their noses buried in the phones, and they're not going to know what to do. All right. Well, that's enough. I've yammered on about that. Are we ready to go ahead and get started? Let's go ahead and get started on the first topic. So we're going to start with the first thing, which clearly this is the bigger story, and it would make more sense for me to talk about Avowed, but let's talk the big story first. Get the people in the door. All right. So Sweet Baby Inc. Let's talk about Sweet Baby Inc. And if you're not familiar with who Sweet Baby Inc. is, Sweet Baby Inc. is a consultant company out of Canada. And up until about what was it, a year before last, 22, when Spider-Man 2 came out and Alan Wake 2 came out, nobody made a big deal about it. And what their job is, they get hired on by studios to go in and make suggestions or consult on um, DEI practices into games. You know, make sure they're punch up stories. So they say punch up stories, make them make sure that the characters are diverse, stuff like that. I'm not doing that great of a job of explaining it, but they had really were doing mostly independent games, which is fine. Um, and it's independent games. Not a whole lot of people will play a whole lot of independent games, and they don't have a big influence on anything in the gaming world as far as sales and stuff like that. But what they started working on projects for Sony, where they worked on God of War Ragnarok and Spider-Man 2. The biggest thing was their influence on Spider-Man 2, doing a lot of things that were kind of counterproductive or kind of counterintuitive to what Spider-Man 1 had been. Like, for example, pulling more focus, basically making minimizing the role of Peter Parker, and going down and emasculating him, breaking him down as a hero, just making him pretty much, he gets talked down to, insulted, stuff like that. Mary Jane becoming this uh, god tier character, where she could go around and take down enemies that are like almost 300 pounds, like it's nothing. Starting to put focus more on Miles Morales in the game, to where the Spider-Man 3 is going to be about Miles Morales. And some of the side missions, like a side mission where for like I think 20 minutes you play as a deaf girl, a black deaf girl, and it's like seeing through her eyes and all that stuff. And then other side missions, like you have to get a gay couple to prom or something. I stopped. I played Spider-Man 2 for a little bit, and that really wasn't the big thing that got me to stop playing. It was just boring to me, because this is more of Spider-Man 1. Pretty much when the original Spider-Man 2, the one that came out for the movie with Tobey Maguire, came out, it was great. Open world Spider-Man game. You could swing all over the place. And then Spider-Man 3 came out, and it's like, well, it's more of the same, and it got a little boring. So there wasn't enough of a change onto it. And then, to my chagrin, they worked on Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake's one of my favorite games, and I was super, 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 super excited about Alan Wake 2. And then when Alan Wake 2 came out, there were some things in the game that just kind of didn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, they split the game between two characters, Alan Wake and this other character that I cannot think of the name of right now. Let me see. See, this is one thing you're gonna know about me, is it'll be on the tip of my tongue, but I just can't get it out. Sage Anderson. God, I don't know why I couldn't remember that. They race swapped Sage Anderson, And they made her the focus on the game instead of Alan Wake. When I play an Alan Wake game, I want to play as Alan Wake. And it was going around fine. I mean, it wasn't as I did. It was a good, okay game. It wasn't as good as the first one, because they put more of the horror side aspects of it into the story. Not enough enemies, and Alan's storyline was he was just going around in a loop. The music video was the best part of that, but the when it got to the end of the game, and she said she had made a comment, and and the comment was like it just came out of nowhere, and the comment was about how the white man keeps her down, considering that the case that she was working on, she was her senior partner made her lead on the case, and plus she is biracial. To me, that I never understood that. I never understood. But hey, what do I know? This is just how my brain processes things like that. So once that kind of happened, Sweet Baby Inc. kind of got noticed. There was a Steam group called Sweet Baby Detected, started by this Steam user called Cabrutus, which all it did was catalog the games that were publicly known and publicly displayed on Sweet Baby Inc.'s website, of them having involvement in it, basically as a reference tool to where should you avoid it or not. And that ended up leading to a website called DEI Detected. And then what really got the ball rolling was when people that work for Sweet Baby Inc. were campaigning for a mass flagging and cancellation of Cabrutus's Steam page and his Steam account. And then once that got rolling, all this stuff kind of hit Sweet Baby Inc. So every once in a while, we will hear some kind of news about games that they're working on or anything they've said in like speeches or expos in the past that kind of show what they're actually going for. I'll pull up a video if I can find it here in a second of the CEO Kim Blair, where she basically spoke at a convention telling developers what they need to do in order to get what they want. But besides that, recently, besides all that, we come to today. So there's been some news about a publisher who is using some kind of manipulation stuff. I don't know the full story. That's why I've got the video here, and that'll kind of explain everything where Sweet Baby Inc. is involved in this. And this was broken by the YouTube channel. Let me go ahead and get over here. Gothic Therapy. And this was like 3 days ago. And they'll explain this whole deal. And I just find it really fascinating to the point to where, well, you know what? Let's react to the video, and then we will go from there.
Let me guess. You're here expecting more SBI content, aren't you? Well, don't worry. This story does have ties to SBI.
Good, because that's why I clicked on the video. It's always a topic of discussion.
But it's much bigger than that. We already know SBI isn't the only consulting company in gaming. But what if I told you there's another one that not only has connections to SBI, but is secretly controlled and even funded by a major video game studio?
Well, please do tell, because I'm all ears.
Landfall Games.
Oh yeah, by the way, Gothic Therapy, give them a subscribe. They really do some research. I mean, Master of the TDS and his wife, they really do some research.
Hello, and what is going on, everybody? It is Master of the TDS, and I am joined by my lovely wife,
Riding Raven.
And welcome back to the channel. This story is a big one, so we're glad to have you all along for the ride. But before we jump in, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, not only to stay up to date with our content, but to help us hit that very near 10K subscriber milestone.
10K, man, I wish I could get somewhere near 10K. I mean, I think I'm like under 100 right now. But again, I do this for fun.
Seriously, just hit the button. You know you want to. Please help us get there before YouTube decides we don't exist.
If you've heard of Landfall Games, that's not surprising. They're the studio behind hit games like Totally Accurate Battle Simulator or Tabs.
I want to say I have played that on Game Pass, and I lost interest in it real fast.
Cluster Truck.
Love this game. Oh, I love Cluster Truck.
Stick Fight the Game, and even their newest title, Content Warning.
So, physics-based nonsense that makes people scream in either joy or rage. Got it.
Pretty much. But here's what nobody knows. Landfall Games isn't just making wacky indie games. They're running a secret business empire in plain sight. That's where Wings Interactive comes in. If you haven't heard of them before, that's exactly how they want it. Wings Interactive is a consulting and funding group a lot like SBI, except instead of pushing writing and narrative changes, they fund and support game studios.
And I'm pretty sure they set the standards for getting the funding. Because what do we got in here? Your revenue's 30% until we recoup our investment once, 50% until we recoup twice, then 70%. We keep adjusting in order to according to the risk. You have complete creative and business control. I don't believe that. You keep your IP rights. So our full-time experienced team is working alongside you. Some of that I don't believe, but I'm pretty sure they'll explain some more.
But here's the thing. Wings isn't an indie fund at all. It's a front, a puppet company designed to let Landfall Games secretly control indie projects while pretending to be hands-off. But don't take my word for it. Let's read their own mission statement. Wings believes that some of the most creative and successful games of tomorrow will be made by teams where women and other marginalized gender developers hold key creative, technical, or business positions. To create those opportunities, Wings provides project funding up to $500K and business support for teams to self-publish their games and build sustainable studios.
So here's the thing on this. I don't see any. If it's an independent game, who cares? Now, this could end up leading to like this could end up leading into some major. See, the whole problem with all this stuff that's going on with SBI and all that, it's all of this stuff being implanted into AAA established IP games, making changes that were never established in any of the other games. Like for example, Alan Wake 2. Well, with like changing the race swapping Saga Anderson when it was established back in Quantum Break that Saga Anderson was white and of Nordic descent. Then flash forward over to Alan Wake 2, they changed it up. I have a theory that I don't think Remedy wanted to do that, but Epic was backing the game. They were publishing the game. I can pretty much, and this is just a theory on my own, so take it as you will. My theory on that was they pretty much told Remedy to do that. Now, we'll have to see how things are going to go because they've already announced Control 2 that they're working on now, a remake of Max Payne, and they've already said Alan Wake 3 is coming in 2029. But we've got the winds of change right now. Alan Wake 3 will probably, since that's so far down the pike, they could probably make changes. And I believe Remedy has already said they're not doing any more DEI stuff, but that's just what I've heard in passing.
Ah, yes. Independent, but only if they approve of you.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. If you search for Wings Interactive, you will find 0 connections to Landfall Games.
Almost like they don't want you to know.
The missing piece of the puzzle? Wings' real name. They don't just operate as Wings Interactive. Legally in Sweden, they're known as Vingar Interaktiva AB.
And why does that matter?
Because Vingar Interaktiva AB is registered at the same address as Landfall Games. That's not just a coincidence. That's a cover-up.
Could it be possible that they share the same offices? I doubt it. Oh, hey, what's up, King? I see you in the chat. I see you jumping over here on YouTube. What's up, buddy? How you doing? I'm here just rambling on, watching videos, talking about stuff.
If Wings was truly independent, why would it share an office, a legal address, and even board members with Landfall? Not only that, but at least 12 companies are registered at this same location.
12? Wait, 12 companies? Okay, that's got to be a huge office. Or something is up.
And guess what? We've proved they're all connected to Landfall. Here's the breakdown.
Okay, please explain it to me.
Landfall Games AB, which is the core studio. Landfall Publishing AB, their publishing branch.
Okay.
Landfall Invests AB, part of Landfall Games AB. Landfall.
Wait, that's Landfall Invests? That's kind of weird because the way I'm thinking is it's a Landfall investment, but they made it 2 words, invest. Sorry, it's just strange to me.
Landfall Mansion AB, business management. Landfall Mountain AB, another Landfall company. Wilnil Games AB, linked to their CEO. Wilhelm Nuland Aktiebolag, named after their CEO. Content Warning AB, which shares a name with their latest game, Content Warning. Then we found a few independent companies, except they aren't actually independent. Haste Development AB.
King says, Nash getting into conspiracy theories, the world better be ready. I mean, this stuff is interesting. Like I said, this ties into Sweet Baby Inc. So they'll explain later in the video. It's just, this stuff's like, when it comes to that, Sweet Baby Inc., it keeps, you think you know a lot about it, and it just keeps getting, the rabbit hole just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper.
Created by the same people behind Landfall's game Haste Broken Worlds. Arade Grodor AB, or Honored Frogs AB. We found that one of Landfall's developers, Petter Vilberg, is listed as a board member. Thepathin AB. We confirmed that its board includes Landfall personnel, including Petter Henriksen. This makes it another Landfall-controlled entity operating under the same roof.
So, in other words, it's not a coincidence. They basically just own the whole building.
Bingo, which means Wings Interactive isn't just at the same address, it's part of Landfall's secret business empire. So, who's really behind this operation? Well, it gets even juicier. 2 names stood out immediately. Petter Henriksen, the vice CEO of Wings, who also happens to be the co-founder of Landfall Games.
Of course, pronouns.
But funny enough,
as the King says, I'm kind of teasing you, bud. Nothing wrong with looking into conspiracies as long as they don't become nutty. You gotta, man. Love to research stuff, not to the degree these people do. That's the thing I've said before. I will when I'm at work. I research. When I'm not at work, my researching skills are not that great. I should start applying those methods to when I'm doing this. Just take a day and just start going down rabbit holes.
Doesn't live.
And again, of course, pronouns.
that he is the vice CEO of Wings on his LinkedIn. Christian Schuster, a Wings selection committee member who also lists Landfall games in her work experience, and she actually has both of these on her LinkedIn.
So they're not even trying to hide it?
Apparently not. The people running Wings are literally Landfall employees. Now, we have to ask, what is Wings actually doing? They claim to be a funding organization for indie devs, but given everything we just found, that's a lie. Wings isn't a fund, it's a shadow publisher.
Oh, say what now? A shadow publisher.
So basically, they exist so that Landfall can secretly publish and control games without officially putting their name on them?
Exactly. Big companies have done this before, using independent brands to publish games while avoiding public scrutiny. And now,
So the earliest I can remember of something like that happening, it wasn't necessarily to do that. It was to get around a rule that Nintendo had with the NES games. Each of their publishers could only produce a certain amount of games each year. So, for example, Konami. Konami had a separate publisher, or a separate arm called Ultra. So Konami would produce their games, they would do their amount, and then any more that they wanted to produce, they produced it under Ultra. Like, to give you a kind of an example, Castlevania, Contra, Bayou Billy, Gradius, those were under Capcom. And then when they did Ninja Turtles, for example, all the Ninja Turtles were produced under Ultra. And I think they did Metal Gear that way too. But they only did, but all the major publishers did that at the time when they were working with Nintendo. And Nintendo kind of eased up a little bit. I want to say around the NES or N64, they kind of eased up on that because honestly, it didn't make any sense. But Nintendo didn't want to oversaturate the market like Atari did a few years prior to the NES's release, because that's what caused Atari to go down. The market got oversaturated with games, and Nintendo didn't want that to happen. But again, the Nintendo Entertainment System was supposed to be treated as a toy, not a video game system. That's the only reason why I got into the stores.
oh, we have the receipts to show that Wings is just another branch of Landfall. And remember when I said this connects to SBI? Kim Belair, the CEO of Sweet Baby Inc. and self-proclaimed Bowser enthusiast, literally sat
Yeah, for that joke right there, she has said on record that she finds Bowser, on a podcast, an old podcast that she does, that she finds Bowser hot.
on Wings selection board, and that changes everything. SBI is already known for manipulating game narratives behind the scenes. If they've been working with Wings, then that means that this isn't just about Landfall. This is part of something much bigger. Don't believe me? Well, we even have video footage of her confirming it herself.
And I've also been on the advisory board of a few funding bodies, including the Wings Fund, which specializes in grants for women and marginalized people working in games and funding projects that come to us through there.
The plot thickens! So, if Sweet Baby Inc. and Wings are in fact working together, then that means
this could be bigger than just Landfall. SBI already operates in the shadows, pushing activism and changing game narratives behind the scenes. If Wings is
They were already. They explained that way better than I could. I think I may have skipped ahead a little bit here, because I'm telling you, I am terrible at explaining this stuff.
behind the scenes. If Wings is working the same way, this could be a much larger operation than we originally thought. So to sum it all up, Wings Interactive, a company that claims to support indie developers, is actually a shadow publisher used by Landfall Games to quietly control game publishing without putting their name on it.
And with ties to Sweet Baby Inc., there's no telling how deep this web really goes.
This isn't just a couple companies working together by coincidence. This is a hidden network controlling indie gaming from the shadows. Landfall, Wings, SBI, they're all connected, and they don't want you to know.
The problem, and here's the problem with independent games. Sometimes you have to get outside funding to get these games made. And as I said before, when it comes to independent games, make whatever. I mean, you do whatever. If you wanted to make a whole game where it's full of pronouns and diversity and trans scars and top scars and all that crap, go ahead and do it. That ain't gonna hurt anybody, because that's the thing. It stays niche and it stays independent. I mean, good God, the amount of like various independent games you would see on Steam, it's all over the place. It's just when it translates into something that the general audience wants to play. Excuse me. As like I said, Spider-Man 2, Dragon Age, Veilguard, or Dragon Age, stuff like that. That's where, you're getting a lot of pushback from, because the general audience doesn't want that stuff. They just want a game with a good story. And that's a lot of times too, whenever they make when they're influenced in there, they ruin the story because they put agenda above story. King says, do anything fun today, bud. I worked today. That's what I did today, King. I worked. I stayed busy. And I didn't get a chance to do more. I didn't get a chance to do any more preparing than I have done, and I can't talk either. But I know next time when I do this, whenever I'm done streaming the day before, I'm gonna make sure I'm well prepared. And I thought I was well prepared for this, and I'm not. There's a lot and there's probably news today I didn't even pay attention to. So let's move on.
This could change everything.
And this is just the beginning. Stay tuned, because we'll keep digging into this mystery and bringing you the truth. Hey, before you go, future TDS here. As we were finishing up the video, we actually found something quite significant.
Oh,
At
more.
the end of April 2021, Riot Games actually contributed $1 million to Wings for games by diverse teams. So yes, there is definitely no shadow network here at all. These are not the funds you're looking for. You want to like and subscribe to Gothic Therapy. Okay, bye.
Move along.
All right, so like at the end of the day, what does this really, really, really mean? What does this all really mean at the end of the day? It's all about money. I mean, it is. That's what it all is. It's all for money. They all do this for money. And I know there's been some updates. And they actually have another video. It's short. It's only 5 minutes, and they've got some updates on the story. So let's take a look at that real quick, because you're gonna see the playbook in action when it comes out, when these things get like reported upon. I gotta do something about that transition. That transition's gotta be a little bit better.
Just when you thought we weren't going to be making a follow-up video to the Wings thing for quite some time, here we are making one. Now, you might ask, well, why is that? But if you've clicked on the thumbnail, you know why. Wings has...
Again, that's why I'm here.
...flown the coop. Hello, and what is going on, everybody? It is Master of the TDS, and I am joined by my lovely wife,
Riding Raven.
And we're back for another video following up on the Wings situation. Before we get into it, just want to thank you guys real quick. I want to give a shout out to Smash JT and Hypnotic and everybody else who has subscribed and helped us reach 10K subscribers. We're way over that now. We appreciate you guys so much.
But please keep subscribing.
And the thing is, this guy is all over Twitter. I mean, one of the things he does on Twitter is he sniffs out bots on Twitter and like just like analyzes all that, and he makes it well known what they're doing and stuff like that. I am surprised that this page does not have more subscribers. But then again, the page is not Master of the TDS, it's Gothic Therapy. And I think he does have his own webpage. But this is just something he does with his wife. I'm assuming.
Subscribing so we don't lose any of those, because YouTube likes to do that to us.
And keep subscribing to stay informed. Now, let's get into the meat of this. So, to recap for people who are new here, we uncovered that Sweet Baby Inc. is connected to a company called Wings Interactive that goes by another name in Sweden, Vingar Interaktiva AB. And that company is registered at the same location as Landfall Game, making this a huge kind of network. And we talked about it in our
It's like mobster stuff here. Or white collar crime, however you want to put it.
And we were on a live stream last night with Smash JT talking about it even further. This morning, I wanted to clarify because there was one thing I had mentioned on the stream. I had mentioned that I found a connection between Wings and Netflix games.
Yes.
Oh, that's new. Netflix games? Oh, I was not aware of that. We're going to have to dig into Netflix games a little bit here. That's new to me.
Netflix does make games, but it's only available on the Netflix phone app.
So I did make a post about that, and it must be like in real time, someone alerted me that they had deleted their Twitter account and their game page. And if you see right now on their website, if you click gaming, there's nothing there. It says page cannot be found. If you go to their Twitter, it's gone. But not only that, they've deleted all of their news articles and a ton of their social medias. Blue Sky, gone. TikTok, gone.
And their Instagram has gone private.
But here's the real kicker, okay? If you go to their homepage now, you might notice that something's missing. What am we not seeing, honey?
We are not seeing the employees or the board members or the selection committee. All of the people involved have mysteriously disappeared.
So,
and that's something I've never understood about all of that when it comes to the internet. Stuff like that comes out, and the first inclination is the first thing you want to do. You gotta nuke everything. You gotta wipe things from existence. Because Sweet Baby Inc. did that once they kind of had a little bit of spotlight on them. They started they removed the publishers they were working with. But here's the thing. Again, it's the internet. Once it's out there, it's out there. Just if you go and you nuke your Twitter or private your Instagram or make changes to the website, it's still out there. People take screenshots, videos. It's already out there, and they can still use it as a reference piece. The King says, you didn't know Netflix had games, bud? I knew they had games. I just didn't know they were working with this company. But I do want to see what games they have made so far. I'm actually kind of curious. I mean, does anybody play games on Netflix, on their Netflix app? Does anybody do that? I'm just curious. Because the only thing I heard that you could play on there that was a big deal is like you play one of the Grand Theft Autos.
In other words, it seems like Wings flew too close to the sun and got burned. Hello, we're the sun.
I would say more like disintegrated, but yes. And why are we the sun?
Because we shine a light in the darkness.
But we're goth. We are the darkness.
But this is a message to the people at Wings and SBI because they're clearly watching. Because I posted an image from one of their articles, and then like 5 minutes later, the articles were gone. So you're clearly watching. So here's a message to you guys. You're going to claim we deleted the accounts because harassment, right? I'm sure there were some people out there who were harassing you, and we don't condone that.
Absolutely don't. We don't ever harass anybody.
No, we do not.
However, you do realize that, first off, do you think that we haven't archived everything? I have everything.
My husband.
Exactly. What did I just say? Everybody's got things archived, so they can always go back to it. And when you're researching, you got to archive stuff. You got to have a backup copy. Copy and paste. Make a file. Have it right there waiting for you. And I'm pretty sure there's Wayback Machines and Internet Archives has already got all that stuff on there. It's 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 just what it is. And of course, the first thing they do, they claim harassment. No, you got found out and you're trying to make yourself a victim.
Husband is a master, not just of the total defense shogun, but of keeping receipts.
This is not a threat, mind you. This is just information. I have all the receipts. I've archived everything, so you didn't really accomplish anything there. And if anything, you make yourselves look even more guilty. If you really felt that you were in the right with what you were doing, you wouldn't have had to delete it. Yes, there are going to be people out there who harass you, but they are a small, small, small minority of people.
Yes. Otherwise,
And that's how it always is. It's always just a few idiots here and there that do that kind of stuff. It's not like everybody. They make it out like everybody in the world's coming after them, and it's only just a few idiots. And the thing is, they never show receipts on it. They just say people are doing it. So who's probably bugging them? Probably some definitely hardcore gamers that have nothing better to do on their time. Now, of course, I mean, you can comment, just a regular comment, but usually those people will start throwing curse words, insults, all this stuff. I mean, you could troll them. I mean, make it funny at least. King says they have boring games like Candy Crush and Terra and can be played on the PC and mobile app. I want to see what games they've actually made, because I know there was a couple of games I think they published a Stranger Things game that was on Xbox and PlayStation. We'll look it up.
by deleting everything, hiding everything, and showing that you are in full-blown panic mode, you are only proving us right and showing that you are, in fact, who we revealed you to be.
Yeah, because if it's not a big deal, you don't I mean, you've got nothing to hide.
So remember the whole thing about Sweet Baby Inc. isn't who gamers think they are? I guess that's not exactly true now, is it?
No, because they are exactly who we think they are and who we have exposed them as. I love karma.
We're not going to stop digging into you guys. If you guys were just transparent, we would. But you guys won't be. So if you won't be transparent, we have to make you transparent. Not so people can harass you, but so that gamers can make informed decisions on what products they buy. It's only fair.
Again, that is like everything I've been saying for the last couple of months, probably over a year. If you're unsure about a game that you want to play, don't buy it first day. Watch a streamer that you trust, a YouTuber, somebody on Twitch, somebody that you trust, that's because they're going to do it for content. I know when Dragon Age came out, there's a couple of YouTubers that I trusted, like Heels versus Babyfaced, and I want to say Hypnotic played it. And then Avowed just came out, and Hypnotic was playing it, and I watched him play a little bit of it. It did not look. It looked like a meh game to me. He said one of his biggest things that he didn't like about it was the characters seemed real floaty, and you can only do one quest at a time. You couldn't do multiple quests on. You couldn't activate multiple quests. But I mean, we're gonna watch a review on that game here shortly.
Yes, you only have yourselves to blame.
Oh, and the shortly is now. The shortly is now. All right, let's go wide here. All right, so yeah, it's just big, just rabbit hole, just going down the rabbit hole. More information. That's the thing. Just more information keeps coming out all the time. So let's see what Netflix games, mobile games. So their involvement would probably have to be involved in the games that they're actually making, not the games that they put on their service, but the games they're actually making. Let's see. What games? There we go. What games have Netflix made? Let's see. Let's see. We are going and it's not telling me. I hate to have to go to Wikipedia. I hate Wikipedia. I am not seeing anything on here. I'll show you what I'm looking at. Because all this does is just shows. I'm assuming that these are all the games that are on the service. Unless I just start really kind of digging in here. What the hell is this? Rainbow Six Small? That's a game. Rainbow Six Small. SMOL. Okay. Well, there's Exploding Kittens, which kind of makes sense of what you were talking about, King. That would, of course, they would have a game on their app. King says they have boring games like Candy Crush. Oh yeah, I already read that. I'm sorry. Sonic Prime Dash, that would go with the Netflix series on there. Stranger Things 3. This looks like this is a mix. This is just pretty much, it sounds like these are all the games that are on the service. I'm looking for games that their studio has made. And I am not. Let's see. I hate going to these wikis sometimes. So this just doesn't really help at all. Not at all. But where was that video? Where's that video? Let's see. That are terrified. Yeah. Well, of course, it's an Asmongold clip, so let's look at this Asmongold, and this will kind of give you an idea of what I was talking about. The thing that she said at a GDC that people are just like, okay, we see what you're doing. See what your plan is here. So let's look at that real quick.
The co-founder of Sweet Baby Inc. proudly explains the method that she uses to force bosses at game studios to censor, alter, and diversify game projects she feels are problematic, terrify them, aka threaten them with the anger of the cancel culture mob. Okay, let's listen to what's said.
If you're a creative working in AAA, which I did for many, many years, put this stuff up to your higher-ups. And if they don't see the value in what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want.
Interpretation. My interpretation of this is, if you don't put or do the thing that we want to put in this game, we're essentially going to go on social media and cancel you. Or we'll call you an ist or a phobe. and you don't want that. So it'd be great for everybody if you put this stuff in here unnaturally.
Right. And so let me explain really what that terror is.
Yeah, and here we go. I'm pretty sure me and him are going to be somewhat on the same page.
5 tweets that go viral, and then nobody actually cares after that. And I'll give some examples for that. So number 1, Final Fantasy 16 was criticized tremendously because it didn't have representation of different races, and the game was massively successful. Another good example is Hogwarts Legacy. Like, based off of the feedback and the information that was online, probably was like half the game killing gay people. I mean, it has to be, right? But whenever you play the game, you know that's not the case. And on top of that, it was the best-selling game last year. It sold like 20 million copies. So if they're trying to terrify the
And which is funny because the bartender in that game was trans, which honestly did not make sense for the time of the game when it took place, because it took place in the late 1800s.
These media and these marketing teams, cancel culture mobs and people getting angry on Twitter don't mean anything. It's just completely vapid garbage. It's vapid hot air.
There's like a genuine value that you can impress upon them, both ethically and financially. You can say this is important.
Sorry, King, but yeah, that's one example right there, because they worked on Suicide Squad.
And it's also
Excuse me. So essentially what it is because these companies are so wrapped into thinking social media is how the actual world is, they're scared that because they think everybody is on social media, instead of doing like they did in the old days. And I've said this before, do the old school market research, do focus groups and determine what the games are, instead of like having to rely on what they say on Twitter, because that's what they're all worried about. A lot of times they're trying to appeal to a very, very extremely small demographic, instead, and then shunning the rest of the general base. There's not a return on investment when you only cater to this, when you should be catering to this. I mean, you can cater to this, but you got to do it in a way to where it's accepted by this. I mean, the problem is with a lot of these games like that, they'll go in and put their agenda in, and it ruins the story, because, as I've said before, the agenda, the thing they want to get across, is more important than the actual gameplay or the actual story. You can still have really good games and have some of that stuff in there. Now, honestly, do I want that in there? I mean, if it's little bits and it's something I can just like pass over, it's fine. But it's also the other end on, you get them doing this stuff in the games, and then you get the developers going out and insulting the fans who have questions or who have concerns about it, or criticisms, because a lot of them can't say their criticisms because in their mind they think they're doing good, and people don't see it that way. Because the vast majority, the vast general populace don't want that. They don't want that in their games. They just want to sit down, play a game, turn their mind off, get away from that stuff, because that stuff is stuff that we already hear day in and day out. We want to play our stupid little game about a plumber that runs from left to right and jumps on magical creatures and collects coins and saves a princess at the end. That's it. Something as simple. Now, before you say, but are you wanting no politics and anything like that in the game? Not real world politics, not this world politics. Games will have their own in-storyline politics, and it works for the game. It works for the story. But when you're taking something like whatever's going on now and you're trying to implant it in something like a fantasy game where it makes absolutely no sense to be in there, especially if it's an IP that is well established, people are going to fight back and resist it. I mean, it's just how it is. But the seasons have changed. We're in the seasons of change right now, and things are slowly turning around because everybody's knowing they're having to change. Because why? It's costing too much money. The investment groups who invested money into like these entertainment stuff to put this kind of stuff in there, the money's run out. Streaming is not pulling in the cash they thought it was going to, especially when they keep producing stuff that's not worth watching, games not worth being played. I mean, you can look at all the layoffs that have been going over the last 2 years. Now, was part of that the DI and, agenda driven stuff? That's part of it. The other part was the studios overhired because of the pandemic, because everybody was sitting at home playing games and they weren't leaving and doing anything. They were staying home and watching movies, which if you look at the theater industry, it's not doing as well as it did before 2020. It's hard to get people into the theaters, and when you make bad movies, you're not going to be able to convince them to jump in. Every once in a while, you have a standout. I'll give you 2 perfect examples: Deadpool, Wolverine, and Inside Out 2. And what did they do with Inside Out 2? Disney told them, no agendas. Make it as family friendly as possible. And the parents went and trusted that and went in and saw it. It pulled in enough just on the name alone the first weekend, but word of mouth got more people to seeing it. Just like Moana 2. Moana 2 was supposed to be a TV series, and Disney, in their infinite wisdom of greed, decided to condense it down and make it a movie, and asked The Rock and the original voice actors to come back, which they weren't going to be in the Disney Plus series because they all got sound-alikes. And it started off slow, and then it picked up a little bit of steam. And everybody's starting to hear about it. Now, Hollywood's going to turn around faster than video games. So we're probably going to still be seeing stuff like this for the next 2 years. But after a period of time, you'll start hearing less and less and less and less and less. All right, but still, that's just a great conspiracy theory. Now we're getting into like white collar crime, if it even is a crime. And like Master of the TDS says, all we want is transparency. And it's hard to get these companies to give us transparency, but that's all we ask for. Give us a little transparency. Be sincere. That's all we ask for. All right. Oh yeah, I forgot I removed that button. All right, I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to come back, and when I come back, we will talk a little bit about Avowed. The new RPG from Obsidian that came out this week. It's on Game Pass. It's on PC. Yeah, we'll look into that. I'll be right back.
It's collagen and elasticity, and it wrinkles up.
So it's really inevitable, right?
It happens to everybody.
Okay, now what about these products that I see in the market, these foundations and cover-ups and powders, liquid powders? How do they work?
Well, they're put on the skin too, but they fill the pores and can clog the pores, not allowing the skin to breathe. Just imagine plastering a wall, filling the holes and cracks.
Right.
It does the same thing to the skin.
So it's kind of like troweling on the spackle there, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, now, does sudden youth clog the pores?
Sudden youth works an entirely different mechanism. It unclogs the pores, allows the skin to breathe. It diminishes the visible signs of aging and makes the skin appear tighter and firmer.
Really? Okay, now you're a plastic surgeon, and you guys have some magical surgical solutions to the signs of aging. How do you do that? What
Yes,
is
we
that?
do. Let's go over here and look at this model here.
This guy needs some trouble here.
We have a couple of procedures.
Needs a
One
lot of
not so
improvement.
invasive, which is collagen.
Oh, you brought your needles. How
And it can
nice.
be injected directly.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Directly into the wrinkles, especially around the nasolabial and mouth area.
Right.
It plumps up the wrinkles, fills them, and it lasts for about 3 to 6 months.
You mean you go through all that pain of the needle business and it only lasts a few months?
But then we have the surgical procedure.
Oh, you brought your scalpel. How nice.
This is making an incision through the full thickness of the skin, down around the ear, around the back of the ear, down the neck.
The show gets better. Please don't change channels. I can see all these people getting grossed out now.
What we do after we make the incision is lift the skin up off the face, off the muscles of the face.
Yeah.
Pull it back gently and naturally, trim off the excess, and then sew it back down in place.
Kind of like making the bed. You know, you shake the sheets out and pull them, get the wrinkles out. Okay, but now you've had a chance to try Sudden Youth in your office. I mean, you've actually recommended it to some of your patients.
I recommend it to all my patients.
What results have you seen?
I've seen fantastic results, but I recommend it especially to those who want to save surgery as a last resort.
Really? But you've really seen results like these people are talking about?
It's the best transitory skin treatment for diminishing wrinkles that I've found.
Very good. Okay, have a seat. We're going to ask you some questions later. Now, Leah, one thing that I keep hearing is how this product, I mean, it works right away. How can the Sudden Youth system work so fast?
Instantly, and it's quick and easy to use. You know, Mike, it's not like we have a lot of time to sit in front of the mirror and determine how to get rid of those lines and wrinkles. This is a product that you can use quickly and easily, and it gets instant results for you.
And you're going to see results right away.
That's right.
Well, Leah, we got a little challenge for you and Sudden Youth. Let me tell you how this challenge works. Just before today's show, we sent our producers into the audience, and they asked for volunteers from people, well, who said they're starting to see the little signs of aging, and people that would like to try Sudden Youth. And we asked them to join us over in our audience challenge area. And we've got our whole audience challenge area set up to be a beautiful salon. And our Amazing Discoveries salon manager is Al Perkins. Now, Al's not really a salon manager. Actually, Al's head of the creative direction for Leah Cosmetics International. And Al, what are you going to do here?
Okay, Mike, what I'm doing here today, because you're so skeptical.
Yes, I am a little skeptical. I've been said to be skeptical, Al.
Okay, I'm applying Sudden Youth to only one half of the face, Mike.
Why is that?
Okay, today you're going to be able to see the before and the after right before your eyes today.
Right before my very eyes, right?
You got it, Mike. I want to erase every doubt you might have about Sudden Youth here today.
Okay, Al, get to work. We'll keep checking back with you. Get to work. And we're really going to see results by the end of today's show. I mean, we don't have that much longer to go here.
That's right, Mike. Absolutely.
Okay. I want you to meet someone who's definitely seen some results with Sudden Youth. Let's meet Sandy. Now, Sandy here was telling me that there was a particular part of her face that you were really not very happy with, right?
Yes, Mike. I had lines here and here, and I hated those lines so much that I would pull my bangs and my hair in front of my face.
You used to hide behind your hair? I mean,
Yes.
your hair is beautiful, but what a shame to hide behind it.
Thank you. I've tried every miracle product on the market, and nothing would work. But after I used Sudden Youth in 2 weeks, not only can I put my hair back, I feel better, and I know I look good.
Well, you look great. Now, we have a picture of Sandy just 2 weeks ago, before her first treatment of Sudden Youth. Let's take a look at that, just 2 weeks ago. And now, Sandy, look in the camera here. We're going to get a freeze frame. Just sit real still so we can focus in on you. And now look in the monitor. Look over there. There's the new Sandy. Look at, I mean, your eyes look completely different. That's really, what a difference.
Mike, what an improvement.
It is, really.
And you look fantastic.
You know, Mike, this is an example of here's a gorgeous, vivacious young girl that is so dominated by her appearance and how she feels that that doesn't look good, that she's trying to cover her face. And here with something as simple as Sudden Youth, you don't have that problem anymore.
Good boy. She sure looks great now. Okay, Leah, now, what is the Sudden Youth treatment system? I mean, what does it look like? How does it
I'd
work?
like to show it to you, if you
Yeah,
don't mind.
we've heard how
Okay.
great it works. Let's see it.
This is Sudden Youth. Do you like it?
A beautiful container. It's very pretty.
Thank you. These are the two products that everyone's raving about. These
Okay.
two right here.
Now, here's one that says number one. What is this?
Yes, this is the Contour Blend.
Contour Blend.
Yes.
Smells great. Smells good.
Yeah, that only lasts while you're applying it. and then
Oh,
it goes away.
So the fragrance goes away so it doesn't conflict with your cologne or perfume.
That's right.
Very clever.
And then you mix that with this product, which is the activator.
Activator. Okay, now what does that do?
The activator is like a catalyst. It's like if you wanted to turn the car on, you put the key in and turn on the ignition, it activates it, gets it started. And you'll feel this really working, Mike. When this is on, you sit back for 20 minutes.
You feel it working.
You feel it. You relax, read a magazine, take a nap, watch Amazing Discoveries, and let it go to work for you.
I like that.
On those lines and wrinkles.
Okay, pearlized facial wash.
Yes,
now what
then
is
you
that?
remove the product with the facial wash in a little water, and then you're ready for
The little tiny one here.
the
What does this one do?
Essential Beauty Complex.
Okay.
Don't let this bottle surprise you. It is amazing, Mike.
What does it do?
This is what gives you that nice, radiant glow.
Really? Okay.
And then you go to the final product, which is the moisture lotion.
Moisturizing lotion.
The Sudden Beauty Moisture Lotion is designed to finish off the face. And it's
So
just
it's a
that
whole system
simple.
then, right?
Correct. And you use it about once a week, once or twice a week to start out. And then you go on a maintenance program of maybe once a week to once every 10 days.
And you say you're going to see results right now, right away from this, right?
Mike. I promise you, yes.
Okay, and let me ask you a question. Let me ask the panel a question. Did you really feel this going to work? I mean, did you feel it going to work on your lines?
Mike, we do.
You
Yes,
felt it going to work?
I would like for you to experience the product, Mike, because then you'll be able to tell me what you feel.
Okay.
Because you will feel.
How do I have to do that?
Okay, I'm going to tell you. I want to put some on. I have mixed up a little just
No,
for
that's
you,
okay. No, I
Mike.
don't want you to. No.
Will you try it on your hand for me?
Okay,
because
maybe on my
I want
hand.
you to be able to experience it and tell me what you feel as it dries.
cool?
Yes, as it's working, though.
Smells good.
Yeah. And then
Smells good.
about
Feels
3 or 4 few minutes from now, you're going to really feel it working and tingling, and you'll notice.
I don't feel anything yet.
You will, though. I want you to share it with me after it's finished
Okay,
working.
I'll do that. Hold that thought. When we come back, I'll tell you if I really...
Hey, welcome back. Appreciate you being patient with me while I go do my thing. My thing is the bathroom. I can't. Yeah, and here's the thing. If you've seen, especially my last stream, I don't trust my toilet because I'm worried about a clog. Damn plumbers are not. I haven't heard back from the plumbers. I mean, everything's fine now, but, you know, I'm one of these types that I'm constantly, until I get a confirmation that it's fine, I'm going to sit here and worry about it. So I'm constantly looking at the base. Like, thank God I was able to take a shower this morning. Because, you know, I took a shower and then the leak comes from the toilet. And he says, Nash has get his ad break in. Well, hey, we always got to watch Amazing Discoveries. So yeah, so I'm kind of worrying about that too, and I had to give myself a tiny snack. All right, so let's talk about Avowed, because again, as I've said before, I have done no research because I have no idea what's going on. And look at that right there. The game is not fully out yet. I didn't know that because I've seen people playing it. Apparently, I guess there is a collector's edition that gives you early access. That's who's been playing it. BattleNet's still a thing? So a lot of people have been playing it. Again, most of the people that have been playing it have been saying it's pretty much a meh game. It's supposed to be, I guess, in the vein of Skyrim. And Obsidian makes has made some really good games. I mean, just about everything they put out has been gold. But now they're owned by Microsoft, and, you know, things are going to change. They're not more or less just an independent studio anymore that makes stuff like Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic 2, or Fallout New Vegas, stuff like that. It kind of started when the Outer Worlds came out, and There was a mixed review. That one had some mixed reviews on it, but it sold well enough as they're doing in Outer Worlds too. I played a little bit of it. I didn't think it was that bad. It just reminded me of Fallout New Vegas in space. But of course, as I always do with those RPGs, I play them for a little bit and then I put them down. I may pick it back up again. I don't know if I'll play it on the Xbox or I'll play it on the Switch because I've got it on the Switch. But the problem with the Switch is you got to worry about graphic degradation because you're playing a game that should be on the Xbox One, and then it's you got to play it on something that's as powerful as a Wii. But I figure we'll kind of let's watch a review on it, kind of see what this reviewer says about it. This is from Juicehead over on YouTube, and all it says is we need to talk about Avowed, and it's about 14 minutes, so we'll just look at this for a little bit, and then we will go from there. Where's that Hypnocast? And apparently they've already patched the game. Okay. All right, so let's hit play.
We gotta talk about Avowed. Xbox was kind enough to give me 2-week early access to review Avowed, and
2 weeks. Some of the and that was another thing that I had been hearing, that they had been just like they were giving like codes to like just they were just like handing them out. Please play this game. Like they already knew there was already some negative information, negative press about the game months ago, just because of who was involved and things that are being said on the on Twitter. I wouldn't say attacking the fans, but kind of giving some pushback, especially when it was like there was going to be pronouns in the game. But apparently, according to that clip right there at the bottom, they've been patched out. But I'll have to do a little bit more research on that.
I'm just so conflicted on this game. And pay attention here, because I think for a lot of you watching right now, you're going to feel very similar to me as you eventually play Avowed. Because just keeping it honest, Avowed was a complete mixed bag for me. Some things about this game I really enjoyed. In fact,
I will say it looks nice. It looks really nice.
Found consistently engaging, but I also found things that just led to consistent eye rolling. And there's one very big aspect about Avowed which will lead to several of you just skipping this one, at least for the time being. And as we get into this one, I won't be sharing any major spoilers around the game or its major questing. But overall, the thing for me with Avowed is this game does get a lot right. I had a weird experience with this one where in the early hours, I almost didn't review Avowed in the first place. I was pretty close to just putting the game down because I wasn't enjoying it. But thankfully, as you start to get a bit more into the story, unlock some new abilities for your character, and even find some items, things do come together to be particularly enjoyable, at least to a point. I found that a lot of Avowed can be pretty...
Well, usually isn't that like... Doesn't that really apply to most RPGs? Like, you start off, it's not really fun, and then you start getting levels and more weapons, and then it gets better. I guess that's my point of view on that.
Tropey, and that includes the main story. The scary plague is wreaking havoc on the living lands, and we are dispatched to
Well, is that a plague, or is that just he just needs to wipe his face?
Investigate and eventually solve it. But along the way, there's another big bad that'll pop up as something we'll have to deal with. The people of Aora, of the Living Lands, end up becoming as much a part of this main story as the plague is. But of course, this is all from Obsidian, so I did have particularly high expectations for the questing here and even the dialogue. And thankfully, I can report that a lot of this did deliver. Something you'll notice throughout this review is I found a lot of things about Avowed good, but then in other instances quite bad. The questing overall here is what you would expect from Obsidian. You consistently had multiple paths forward with each quest, and in very familiar Obsidian style, many quests left you with a big option to just fight it out if you want.
Are those the shark pirates from One Piece? I'm asking for a friend.
With a ton of the encounters in this game, you can either end things peacefully via dialogue, end things angrily via dialogue, or just kill everyone. And oftentimes in my playthrough, I just chose to kill everyone, which definitely changed up the game for me.
As you should. You should just lay waste to everybody in the game.
because just killing everyone was often a more difficult path forward and could potentially aggro an entire area of the map to your current group. But
just like in every one of those games that are like that, Fallout, Skyrim, you make one mistake in a town, you've got the entire town on you. That it reminds me of Fallout. My first time playing a game like that was Fallout 3. I went to Nuketown. I accidentally picked up a bag of chips. The town just went after me. I tried to go in and like wait a couple of days and go back in there. Nope. Because they didn't forget. So I started back from the beginning. I had gotten to the point when I was there the first time to where I talked to the guy that offered me to go activate the nuke that was in the middle of the town. I didn't want to do it because I was going to be a good guy. And then they pissed me off so bad, I restarted the game specifically to go to Nuketown, not touch anything, find the guy, accept the job, and blow the town up. I'm sure there was more to do there. I said, nope, this is what you get because my finger slipped on the controller and it accidentally picked up a bag of chips.
Definitely is fun to have that choice, a perhaps slightly more difficult path forward, but yeah, you can kill a lot of people in Avowed, which I personally loved. To go along with this, there are a ton of speech
So from what I'm assuming, I'm guessing here from what he says is, it seems like it's more focused on trying to talk your way out of situations instead of fighting, and if you do fight, it's incredibly difficult. Well, not incredibly difficult, but somewhat difficult.
Checks all throughout this game, how you build out your character will have a major impact on what choices are available to you in dialogue, and in turn, what kind of choices you'll be making during questing. And pretty similar to how it worked in the Outer Worlds, companions end up playing a much larger role in both your quests and combat.
Dipping Pringles in the Lay's Ranch dip is amazing.
In Avowed, you'll have the typical companion dialogue that you could do back at your camp, but also just companions butting in with their own opinions. And a feature I personally loved is, before a lot of the major choices during the main story, you could just ask your companions what they thought about a certain thing to help inform your ultimate decision. But while I liked this overall, I was also consistently rolling my eyes throughout this story, and that was largely just due to the writing. It's one of those weird situations where at points I was taking notes praising the game for how realistic and nuanced certain conversations were. At some points in this game, when you're talking to another character, you're talking about some
There must be some very offensive dialogue right there. They had to blur it out.
Very real issues that you probably have feelings on in real life, and you did have the ability to articulate those feelings in game to a very adequate degree. It definitely felt like the dialogue was consistently there to roleplay how you like, at least for the most part. But other times, it really felt like high school banter. Two of the companions playfully dislike each other, and some of the comments made here just sound ridiculous, and completely took me out of the game for a moment. And throughout the game, it was this weird back and forth for me. Lots of the dialogue was great, but then some of it's just bad. So it kind of averaged out to being pretty good. The good definitely outweighs the bad here, but I also found a lot of the NPC appearances to just kind of be a bit odd. And perhaps this is more on the nitpicky side, but to me, it just felt like a lot of these NPCs didn't look like they fit into a medieval fantasy setting. A ton of the people looked surprisingly modern, like modern beauty standards are being employed here.
And that's the problem when you got people working on these games that don't have talent because they're not creative enough to build build things that are within a game, within a fantasy world. They want to implant stuff that's modern, real world in that, instead of like actually designing and creating things that are specific to that world. Like the big thing is, like, if you see like the side shaved head or multicolored hair, that's a big thing right there.
It wasn't a huge deal one way or another, but I did notice this with several characters.
It's just annoying. That's what it is. It's just annoying. Plus, you got to think these worlds are supposed to kind of like resemble like the Middle Ages and stuff like that. That's where the fantasy comes into play.
And sort of just wish they had a simpler look for many. And the story overall is in a similar situation for me. At times, I am super engaged in this story. I saw some genuine jaw-dropping moments. But then at other times, you just want to skip through the dialogue because things become so incredibly tropey and predictable. Unfortunately, without giving spoilers, I can't really share more about this, but several aspects of Avowed just feel very familiar. Like I've already done this in another game, and overall it's just kind of fine. The individual dialogue was pretty engaging throughout this game and definitely a strong point overall, but the overarching story notes did feel pretty generic at points. Not enough to not finish the story. It's not like you're going to turn the game off because the story's too generic, but also wasn't a huge driving force forward. I wasn't so engaged in the story that I couldn't put Avowed down. And this was also true for a lot of the side quests. Plenty of the stories told in this world are just not really that interesting or feel very familiar, like you've already done them in another game. Although, one thing I will say is this story is surprisingly long. The game definitely feels larger than the Outer Worlds in comparison, and while overall Avowed definitely still feels like a smaller title, it definitely doesn't feel as small as the Outer Worlds, which I would definitely consider a big upgrade. But the feeling of familiarity is something I felt throughout a lot of my time with Avowed. This game just kind of has a certain layer of generic Unreal Engine RPG features, and I definitely don't mean that in a good way. This open world is definitely...
That's what I've been hearing about the gameplay too from a lot of other sources. It's just meh gameplay. I mean, it's just nothing really special to it.
Not a strong point. Visually, it's great looking. Over the course of the story, you're going to go
agree
to
with
additional
that.
areas,
It
and
looks
each
nice.
of these
It
have
looks
their
real
own
nice.
overarching theme, and the landscape here is stunning. This is definitely one of those games where you're going to stop to take it all in.
Guarantee he's playing on PC. He is absolutely playing on PC. That is not that's obviously not console.
Because things look so good. But you also shouldn't expect a particularly high degree of open world interactivity, which I think is going to burn a lot of people on this game. You can go around and loot items, trade with vendors, and things like that, and actually when it comes to looting or stealing, nobody cares. I guess from a story perspective, this is due to us being the envoy we are sent directly by the Emperor, but in Avowed, you can just walk into someone's house, steal every lootable item there, and they won't say a word to you.
Well, what's the fun in that? I mean, yeah, granted, that pisses me off when I accidentally pick up something when my finger slips, but especially like in Indiana Jones, the fun was just sneaking around and taking something that you weren't supposed to take.
That felt
But I needed it.
odd to me. Lots of the NPCs feel fairly dead in this game until you actually engage in dialogue with them. Like, even just walking around certain towns, the city would be stunning. Things look amazing all around you, but then you actually look around and everyone's just kind of standing there lifelessly, not really doing anything. The wilderness could definitely be a bit better at times. You can find some enemies patrolling around, but overall, this is a fairly basic open world, particularly from an RPG perspective. Exploration was
What are those, the Seven Dwarfs?
fine, but it's not a selling point. And I would say it's pretty similar to the Outer Worlds here. There are occasionally things to find out there, but the vast majority of the time, you're just going to be looting some crafting components. And I think why this felt like a bigger issue with Avowed compared to other games is because this world was stunning. Lots of the major set pieces are pretty enough that you want to stop and take it all in, but as you do so, you also see how dead this world is at points, and that does kind of take away from the visuals to a degree.
So, my analysis of this is because the story comes first.
I was hopeful.
Sorry. Story comes first. They knew the story was bad. They knew the gameplay was not, it was going to be mediocre. Let's make everything look really, really nice, and we can pull people in just on the looks of the game. That's fine. I played plenty of games that look fantastic and they played like ass. But you got to have that balance. It's got to have a great story, it's got to be engaging, and it can look good. Sometimes you can get away with passable, but like Nintendo is the biggest example of our games are not the most graphically breaking, but they have a good story. They're enjoyable to play. And even though it doesn't look like a current Xbox or PlayStation, graphics don't matter. It's how it plays. It's gameplay. That's what matters.
for some New Vegas-esque sneak around to find a secret back door to open up a new quest pathway, but at least in my experience, that really isn't a consideration with Avowed, or it very rarely was. Although, crafting and upgrading your gear is a major part of this game. You have typical items, but also unique items with some special abilities on them. This is a fairly dumbed down system. Most of the loot you're going to find
I like dumbed down. I'll take down a dumbed down system.
on enemies from chests and even during quests is going to be crafting components or common pieces of weapon and armor. So often just being a generic weapon or armor that you can break down into more crafting components. And this aspect of the game is just kind of fine. Upgrade gear to get better stats, and there's even an enchanting mechanic for unique weapons, but it's one of those systems where pretty quickly you're going to find what you like for your character, and then it's just, okay, let me upgrade this over and over and then scrap a bunch of the stuff I don't need. Pretty quickly I found the gear and upgrade system to be more cumbersome than enjoyable. There's no mechanics around building weapons of your own or developing your own skills here, which is not really a bad or good thing. It's just a simple,
That's a way to go right there. Being turned into ice and then smashed.
more neutral feature of the game. But something that isn't super simple is combat. Combat is a major focus of Avowed because basically all of the abilities that you're going to unlock will be combat focused, and this includes the abilities of your companions. As you travel around and level up, your companions will unlock new abilities, and pretty quickly you'll be using all kinds of moves in combat. The core of this is what combat style you invest into. They're going to be swords, bows, wands, magic books, and even guns, but Avowed features this very easy weapon swap feature, so you'll probably adopt multiple of these and some kind of hybrid playstyle. In the early game, I found the combat to be outright boring. It's simple hack and slash combat of spamming abilities
Twitch. I'm planning on doing some stuff on Twitch and Kick tomorrow and Sunday. I just don't know what I'm doing yet. I know Sunday I want to do something different. Saturday I may do Black Myth Wukong. I haven't decided yet. Or I may do something different between the 2 days. I haven't decided yet. But the plan is I will be on both days.
Enemies. But thankfully, as you start to hit the mid-game and start to unlock more, this definitely becomes more engaging. Mostly because there's just more for you to do. You can chain together certain abilities and know when to best use your companion's abilities. A big part of this is while some abilities will just increase damage with a certain item type, a ton of the abilities you unlock are going to be a new thing your character can do. So it does become very engaging as you level up and literally you're learning new powers for your character. And some of these fights where I am spam clicking spells are incredibly fun. It gets really engaging with a ton for you to do yourself and companions, and overall companions are a very relevant part of combat. Obsidian managed to make companions feel like they actually are playing a role in those fights, which is really nice. As well as Avowed does feature several...
It doesn't look like he was running out. Mana may not be a thing in the game. Didn't look like he was running out of mana at all. Typically when you play some RPGs, you can't use magic all willy-nilly like that.
Boss fights as you're adventuring around to help mix things up. Although this too was only fun up until a point. The combat definitely is a highlight of the game overall, but at the end of the day, you're just kind of spamming abilities at fairly tanky enemies. There isn't much nuance in your strategy. The end goal is often to just kill everyone as quickly as possible. I think particularly when you're coming from another game like Stalker or Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and then going to Avowed, things just feel dumbed down and incredibly easy to get into in Avowed. It simply lacks the nuance that many of these other...
Love his strategy because that's exactly what I would do. Get up on a high ledge and just start whacking them from below. Because you know when you have the advantage when you have the high ground. King, I might hop in or might not. I sent you a PM on this. Why? Oh yeah, I haven't checked any of my. I hadn't had the chance to check any of my stuff this morning. King, I'll take a look when I get done.
Other games have around their combat encounters and how you approach them and how you can strategize with them. And one of the big problems I had with Avowed's combat is it just kind of feels familiar. The focus on abilities is nice, but it's not like anything particularly new or revolutionary is happening
that's a boss
here.
too.
And I feel like that's kind of one of the big issues with Avowed overall. This game is just fine to pretty good, but a lot of what it does has been done by other games. And at least for me, while you're playing this one, things felt familiar. Avowed isn't a revolutionary game, which is typically fun. fine, but it is releasing in the middle of a bunch of other fairly revolutionary games, which I think is a bit of a problem for this one. Another problem is the bugs. So of course, I was playing on an early build of Avowed, and some of this may be fixed, but I crashed about 8 times while playing this one, and my FPS was consistently not great. I played Avowed maxed out at 4K on a 4090, but my FPS still was surprisingly low throughout. This definitely feels like one of those poorly optimized Unreal Engine games.
Ooh, that's bad. That was bad.
That's heavily relying on DLSS or FSR to get working. During tons of conversations with just one other NPC, I am in the 60s of FPS, and you could definitely feel it. A lot of my playtime with Avowed was under 100 FPS on a fairly top-tier system, and it's not like the game looks that good. As a recent comparison, I would say my FPS in Avowed was typically 30 to 50 lower when compared.
I never understood the game mechanic in first person where you gotta move your arms like this, like you're running. Like, can't you not tell by the speed that you're moving in? Do you necessarily need the hands to emphasize that?
Compared to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 or even Cyberpunk 2077. So like, yeah, I get it. Playing above 60 FPS is obviously great for 90% of games, but it just felt weird with Avowed. It felt like my FPS should have been higher, and some of the FPS jumps you feel while playing are substantial. A lot of this led to minor hiccups in the game, sometimes visual artifacting as things would adjust or try and load in to catch up, and overall I would say the FPS fluctuations and some of the visual issues made this feel just not like a super polished experience. Avowed has a lot of FPS jumps for me, and yeah, you really feel these. It's not like you're just seeing your FPS change on the stat. No, I was noticing it in gameplay and then like, oh, is my FPS shifting or something? It can definitely take you out of the game for a moment, and I have to imagine this will be something you experience on consoles, particularly if you want higher FPS. I also encountered just some general bugs, lots of small audio issues where sound would cut out temporarily.
Wine.
Not really the end of the world. But considering this game was supposedly done last year and has been in polishing for months, I certainly found this many bugs surprising. Comparing Avowed to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, the same game I just reviewed a couple of weeks ago, I had significantly more problems with Avowed in significantly less playtime. Like, even as just a simple example, I think I just couldn't complete this bounty quest. I had to go and kill some big ogre enemy, but I think he just burned, so I could never loot the items off his body, and in turn, never get my reward for completing this bounty.
Well, that doesn't make any sense because I've burned enemies before in like Skyrim and you could still get their loot from the ashes. That's just weird it did that.
This seemingly happened with 2 different bounties. Although thankfully beyond that and some of the weird audio and FPS issues, those were really all of the bugs I encountered with Avowed. I wouldn't say it was a particularly buggy game, but some of the FPS fluctuations and crashing do become a bigger issue over the course of a larger playtime. And overall, it's one of those weird situations where Avowed definitely isn't a bad game. It's just not better than a lot of the alternatives available right now, at least for me. After this video goes up, I am going back to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and probably going to check out this big Stalker 2 update that is about to drop. I don't really plan to play more Avowed, not because it's a bad game, but again, just because there are better alternatives right now. I think the release window here is incredibly competitive, and in my opinion, Avowed loses to the competition. To me, the biggest takeaway with Avowed is it just kind of feels like a generic Unreal Engine RPG. A lot of this is enjoyable moment to moment, but a lot of it also feels familiar, and this definitely isn't a revolutionary game or really trying to do all that much new. But simply, this is not a game I would rush to play. That's not to say you won't have fun with it, but there are other games that are offering more unique and memorable experiences right now.
Translation: this is just going to be a game that's just going to be on Game Pass. That's all it's going to end up turning into. It's a game that's on Game Pass. That's all it's going to end up turning into.
Avowed feels like a game that was built with Game Pass in mind. I think if this was dropping in an era without Game Pass, the game itself would look a lot different.
No, what would happen is the game would come out. It would not do that well unless Microsoft threw in some more marketing for it. And then it would come out and it would just fade away very quickly. Because they would end up spending all of their time trying to make it into probably just something to tide you over until the next Elder Scrolls game comes out. Because again, Obsidian has had relationships with Bethesda because they have made, and in some cases, better version of a Bethesda game. Like New Vegas is a better version of Fallout 3. And depending on who you talk to, Knights of the Old Republic 2 is better than BioWare's Knights of the Old Republic.
Those are my overall thoughts on Avowed. Many of you are going to be jumping into this one in just a couple of hours, so I'd love to hear from you guys down below. What are your initial impressions of Avowed, or even just what do you think after watching some reviews? Otherwise, get subscribed because we have a lot more RPG content coming on the channel.
Yeah, not really something. I mean, it doesn't really super stand out, but I'm not super impressed by RPGs anyway. But I mean, when they announced it and it was Obsidian, I was like, cool. I like Obsidian. Excuse me, Obsidian. I like Obsidian. Let's see. And I've been I've pretty much have enjoyed some of the games that Obsidian has put out, but I don't know. I don't know, but I mean, it's definitely something I'm not going to pick up. Oh, I'm sorry, play on Game Pass. I'll probably pass on that. As I've said before, if you catch me on my other streams, I've said I'm going to do my damnedest not to play. I'm going to be really picky on the games that I play this year, as far as like the games that are published this year. I'm going to be really picky. But of course, so let's watch one more video about that and the whole pronoun thing that just came up. And this will kind of give us a little bit of backstory on the game itself, as far as some of the stuff, because I'm still kind of catching up to some of this, and this will be like some good information overall. So let's and this is from Hypnotic. Definitely take a look at his channel. He does some really good stuff.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so as you guys are aware, Avowed is that video game that everybody is talking about right now, and for obvious reasons. Avowed is a video game that had a lot of controversy simply because the art director over at Avowed decided it was in his best interest to try to ruin the release of the video game for everybody that he's worked for. He decided to have a little bit of a melty melt on Elon Musk and go crazy and basically threaten Elon Musk and say that he wants to make him even more mad and that he cannot wait for Elon Musk to see the defaults in the video game. Well,
another person on working on a game that can't see past their damn politics. If you would just focus on the game that you're making and ignore all this shit, you would possibly do some good work. But no, you're focusing on something you shouldn't be focusing on, and that's Elon Musk.
At the end of the day, Avowed has officially released, at least in early access anyway, and people have varying opinions on it, myself included. I am currently reviewing the video game on Griffcast right now, but one of the things that they have done recently I find to be very interesting, and that is the fact that the pronouns in the video game are apparently now removable and optional.
So yes, as opposed to Starfield, where it wasn't. And that has nothing to do with an RPG. Nothing to do at all. Who cares? Because it's not made reference, unless you're playing Dragon Age Veilguard, it's not referenced at all anywhere else in the game.
Now, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this was not seemingly the case just a few months ago. It's almost as if they decided to patch out the game and make it optional for you to have pronouns or not. It's also very interesting, as I was playing the video game, that it just felt as if some of the customization features were missing, almost as if they removed it from the game due to all the backlash. For example, you can't do anything to your body in the game. The only thing you can customize, aside from skin color, is your facial features. That is literally it. Anything on your body you can't do.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that was pretty much, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think in the last couple of Fallout games, I think all you could do is customize your face. I don't think you could customize your body at all. Because honestly, those games are not graphically the best looking. So, and plus half the time your character's probably wearing a mask or something. So, yeah, I don't see any point in that. But I mean, I think there is precedence where in some RPGs you could only do your face and not your body.
You can't even add a tattoo, and it just seems a little bit odd to me. So let's get into this video, guys, from That Part Plays. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So again, guys, there are varying opinions on Avowed, and before I get into this article, I want to show you a gameplay snippet of when I was going through the character creator and I first discovered that you can have optional pronouns in the game, and that they...
Oh, by the way, the Avowed character I have in the thumbnail, that's Hypnotic's character in the game.
They are not forced on you. Check it out. Identifier he, she, they. Let's see the difference. All right, so we're going to go with she. We're going to go with a female voice. And we're going to go with they. Display identifier in player character sheet. Oh, so you can display. So you could choose whether or not you want to display your pronouns. You can choose whether you want to display your pronouns in the character sheet or not. So now that you guys saw that little tidbit of gameplay, I want to showcase to you the discussion that's happening right now. So people are thinking that the pronoun stuff was edited out after the fact, just because of what Matt Hansen decided to say in the beginning and how it seemed like it was not going to be optional. It seemed like everything was going to be forced upon you in terms of pronouns, but then we find out that's not the case. Now we have Grumps making a post that I don't know if I necessarily agree with yet, simply because there's no confirmation that it was actually like this or not like this from the beginning. We don't know if the pronouns were 100% forced upon you, because the only thing that we have from the initial video game and the screenshots that were being shared around was the simple fact that there was pronouns in the game in general, right? It was showcasing pronouns in the character sheet, but it wasn't actually showing pronouns in the character creator. So we don't know if this was around or not around since the beginning, but it does feel like it was in fact patched out just simply because of what Matt Hansen says. But again, I want you guys to have the truth and that it's not confirmed whether or not this has been done or not. But
I'll assume this. This is what I will assume about that little bit right there. Because of pronouns being in Starfield and you could not have the option to toggle that on or off, and there was such a backlash on that, especially from Hill versus Babyface with the famous video that he made called I like to call it fucking pronouns. Which, hold on, we're gonna go wide. We're gonna take a break from Hypnotic, and I am going to show, let's see if we can show, let's show that. Second result.
Just want to say a little something. There is nothing I love.
Let's see. Let me find it. Let me think. This is
Sorry,
it.
did you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess.
Yeah, this is just be a little snippet of this. Oh wow, I didn't flip the thing around.
Sorry, did you want to get immersed in our world? Yeah, well, guess what? Fucking pronouns! Fucking gender ambiguity! Fucking current day Californian shit! Because that's all we fucking know! Because we're boring! We're so fucking boring!
So yeah, that was one thing, and that was floating around. That was floating around YouTube for a while, and it got a lot of press. Even some big names had to comment on him, and they were like, they were putting him down because of it. And then year later, he was right. He says, "Have you seen Trailer Park Boys? I have never. I know of them. I have never seen any of their stuff."
Let's see what
I had almost hit that play button a few times, but I just didn't do it.
Grums has to say. Avowed, the highly anticipated first person.
So I would assume that what would happen, back to my point, was there was such a stink about it on Starfield. Now of course, Starfield, Bethesda, Avowed, Obsidian, two different companies, same umbrella. They're under the Microsoft umbrella. I'm sure at the early development, it went to the higher ups at Microsoft, and they saw that that was a forced thing in the game, and they probably told them, you need to put a toggle switch on that or get rid. No, actually, no. I'll say there was a toggle switch, because I don't see Microsoft being a company that would tell them just to totally get rid of it. They probably said, put a toggle on it. Put a toggle on it or something. So, because if you don't, we'll have the bald Englishmen screaming pronouns again.
Fantasy RPG from Obsidian Entertainment, and again, I don't know if it's highly anticipated, but that's besides the point, is currently out in early access, and players have already discovered a major concession concerning pronoun features. Despite months of controversies and bold rhetoric from art director Matt Hansen, it's now possible to disable pronoun display in the game setting. This discovery was first reported on X by former World of Warcraft team lead Mark Kern, also known as Grums.
People do not like Grums. And he doesn't make any YouTube videos. He just posts on YouTube. My thing with Grums is, vast majority of time, he has some good takes, got good information. Sometimes he'll report on something that's a little iffy, and then he likes to jump the gun on stuff. But hey, you get paid on Twitter now, so you're making that money, and everybody's grifting. Everybody's grifting.
Now, again, guys, I want to be very clear. We do not know if this was in the game prior to, anything. We have no idea. We can only base it off of what we do know and what we've seen before, right? And I want you guys to understand something. This very well might be a concession. It very well might not be a concession. But what I do know is that Avowed is not doing too well right now. Now, let's look at the numbers and let's look at them honestly. If we look back here at Avowed, you can see that right now their all-time peak was 9,270 players on Steam. Now, here's a couple of facts for you guys to consider. Number one, Avowed is a Game Pass video game, okay? That alone is going to hurt this game tremendously, and I know it benefits.
So if that is correct, the low number, the game's in early access. It's a collector's edition. I'm assuming it's probably a $100 collector's edition. Not everybody's going to shell out $100 just to play the game several days early, especially for a new IP. Honestly, he's saying that 9,000 is low. I kind of think that's kind of high for a $100 pre-order, like a $100 early access. I mean, it's still, what is it going to be after the full release on the 18th? What is it going to be? And he has a good point there. Now, these are all the Steam charts. These are all Steam purchased games. And these are games that are played through Steam. Now, I think, because it's been a while since I've done Game Pass on PC, I think that's a separate client. So unless they're playing it, they're buying it and playing it through Steam, That's gonna be kind of hard. I would say if that number is the same after the actual release, then that would make sense. Right now, I would think that's a little high, especially for a game that's a new IP, if that makes sense. If you see what I'm saying. Like, for example, there are people that will pay $100 to play Madden 3 days early. But you're going to get more people doing that than you would something like this, because your normies who only play Madden once a year in Call of Duty, and they're willing to pay the extra 100 so they can get ahead, they'll do it. I see. King says, I'm watching the Trailer Park Boys, the animated series, on Netflix at the moment because I'm bored. Well, I get it. I get it. You got to find something. You got to find something to entertain you. I'm not exactly making this exciting right now. I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Gamers looking to play the game for essentially.
Not saying that's because of what you said, King. It's because I know I still got work to do on stuff like this.
Actually free because they're basically subscribed to Game Pass anyway. I don't view Avowed as a video game that people are going to run out and go subscribe to Game Pass in order to play day one. I don't view this kind of game as such. The people who are playing this game on Game Pass had already had Game Pass, in my opinion. The majority of them.
No, you know what will drive Game Pass? Exclusive day one Half-Life 3. That's what'll do it.
And so I don't really think this is going to be a Game Pass moneymaker. This is going to be a Game Pass, keep people subscribed kind of video game. And that's why I view Game Pass as a monster that constantly needs feeding. And it's being fed these AAA games that are costing hundreds of millions of dollars to make from Western studios. And they're never making their money back. It's not even close to making their money back. Right now, you know that it has an all-time peak of about 9,200 players on Steam, which means that that's how many players, on average bought the game. Obviously, it's more than that because it's just concurrent numbers. So probably you're looking at, let's be honest, you're probably looking at like 50,000 sales, 60,000 sales on Steam, give or take, right? Based off this number alone. Not exactly very good for an RPG from Obsidian that costs a lot of money, obviously, right? So you got to wonder, okay, people are going to cope and see, then they're going to say, well, people are playing on Game Pass and it's successful because of that. That's not true. We've seen so many Game Pass games flop simply because the majority of people played it on Game Pass and didn't even bother buying the game. That's the problem. It's no different than all these shills out there on Twitter deciding to be angry at the people who spent $90, like myself, to have early access and to give the review honestly, versus people that got review copies that never support the video games they say that they love, never support the video games and companies they say they enjoy. They just want to get free stuff.
Yeah, because they're broke. I mean, they're broke. Now, if somebody came to me with a free code, am I going to turn it down? It depends. I do have morals. But, yeah, those people are usually broke anyway, in my opinion. So you got to say in my opinion and allegedly so you don't get in trouble.
And utilize it to the best of their ability so they get all the gain and the company gets nothing, right? So it's absolute fucking nonsense what people are saying about this game. The simple fact is that it hit a concurrent of 9,270. The fact number one is that it's a Game Pass game. The fact number two is that it's an early access, okay? So this game is not officially released until the 18th. So I view this number as quadrupling. I really do. I think this number is probably going to reach maybe around 30, maybe 40,000 if it's lucky when it officially releases. But right now at early access, I got to be honest with you, I might be a little bit over. And the reason why is because having a little under 10,000 for the people who are most hype about your game versus people that weren't that hype, so they didn't even want to bother paying for early access, I got to imagine you're probably not going to see that much of a jump. But
well, the thing is, early access is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because you can kind of determine which way the game's going to go as far as popularity, demand, interest. It's also a curse because then you'll get people that play it early, and if they hate it, the word of mouth will get to their friends and anybody else they know that are actually going to be getting this game, and either they don't get it Or if they've got it on pre-order, they'll go and cancel their pre-orders. So, you know, it's a blessing and it's a curse situation.
But again, I'm going to go with 30 to 40,000 to play it on the safe side, and then we'll see what number. It could be higher. Who knows? We'll see what number ends up showing up from there. But as of right now, I want to be very clear. Grubbs is making this statement saying, "We win again," Kern declared. Avowed forced to add an option to disable pronouns in the game. Whatever Matt Hansen was threatening with the...
Again, which I agree with Hypnotic. Don't jump the gun like that. See, Grums tends to do that. He'll jump the gun sometimes. We win again. For all we know, that was probably a slider that they had already, that was something that they had already had planned from the get-go. So yeah, we don't know if it was already planned or if they did send a patch and got it to where they made it an optional thing.
Default in putting wokeness in the game, he's been soundly rebuked. He hasn't posted to social media in 2 months. Well, that's probably because they took away his privileges. Let's be real. They probably said, if you want to keep working here, you need to stop posting on social media and shut the fuck up.
That's how you do it. When you got somebody working for you, making a game, making a movie, especially like actors and actresses who say stupid stuff all the time, you just tell them, like, shut the fuck up. You're killing our movie. You're killing our game. You need to stay off of social media until well after this game comes out. Like the actress for Snow White that's coming out. She's pretty much, she keeps opening her mouth everywhere, and it's pretty much, honestly, it's ruined Snow White. The movie hasn't even come out, and that movie is just, it's not going to do well at all if it does anything. The best thing you want to do, if you want to save any of this stuff before you hire these people, you make it part of the job requirement, or you make it a part of your contracts, and you say, during this time, you cannot post no posts no post of any kind that will damage the reputation of this game, regardless of it being your personal account or not, or your personal views or not. If you feel you need to post something, you got to run it through our marketing team to make sure it is okay to say. And the problem is you can kind of sort of get away with if they don't put any listing, the way I look at it with your social media, if you don't put your job or anything what you do on there and keep it as vague as possible, make no connection between something you're working on or where you're working at, anything where you're working for somebody and they're paying you. I mean, you want to distance yourself as much as possible. And if you do say something that would be considered, I guess, I don't want to say out of line, but something that is controversial, you won't be able to, it'll distance yourself to that, because you can say, well, I mean, I did say that, but nobody knows I'm working for you. Nobody knows I'm working for you, so that you don't have to worry about that.
That's basically what's happening. Curran, a longtime critic of DEI initiatives in gaming, didn't stop there. He doubled down, pointing out that while the option to remove pronouns is the victory for players, the larger issue of Hansen's leadership and behavior remains unresolved. It says, even if we added an option to remove pronouns, I can't support a studio that does nothing with their art director. It spouses racist and illegal hiring practices and frauds at the mouth to basically own Elon and the Chuds. This attitude needs to be eliminated from AAA. I agree that the attitude needs to be eliminated from AAA, but I also understand that it's everywhere in AAA, right? So the whole notion about people saying, don't buy video games from people that hate you, I want you to understand every video game that you ever have purchased, there is somebody in the studio that hates you. somebody. It's the sad truth. There is somebody at the studio in AAA gaming, or even sometimes AA and indie, because we've seen it everywhere. There is somebody at the studio that hates gamers. And I don't know why this is a thing in the gaming industry, where it's one of the only industries where the people who work there absolutely hate the ones they sell products to. But that's just the fucking truth.
Well, the thing about that is, it's the ones that open their mouth. Yeah, I mean, I know for a fact that there are people that work in the industry and they hate the customers, but not all of them open their mouth. You see what I'm saying? But it only takes a few, one or two, that opens their mouths, and it kills any goodwill between the fans. That's why I'm saying, you tell them, shut your mouth, don't post on social media, don't insult the fans. If they get after the game's released, and after the game's released, and maybe 6 months after the fact, because at that point they should be working on something else. But yeah, they're gonna, if they don't like, honestly, if that's the case, these people need to get a new job. If they hate the customers, they need to get a new job. But but most of those people that are game developers are probably antisocial anyway, because they probably got wedgies when they were in high school. But anyway, no, the fact is, yeah, there are people in probably all of them, or the vast majority of them, in AAA game development that hate the customers. The problem is, from the way I see it, the problem is the ones that open their mouth on social media. That's what it is. That's what it is that kills. That's what kills game sales right there. I mean, as far as I know, I don't know. I play Mario all day long, Zelda all day long. Miyamoto probably hates me, but you know what? He doesn't say anything about it, so it's out of sight, out of mind, right?
If you're buying video games based off whether or not developers like you or not, you're not going to be buying many video games. Let's just be honest here. So you got to judge the video game, and you got to separate the art from the artist.
But goodwill does go a long way.
You got to look at it and be, a little bit critical about whether or not the game itself stands on its own, and screw the developers. You can absolutely roast them, don't get me wrong, and you can prove to everybody and showcase online exactly how piece of shit they are, but ultimately buying the video game should be based on the video game and not so much the developer as a whole. And I understand people are going to disagree with that. That's okay, but I also need you guys to understand, look at your video game catalog. I guarantee you have games from people that fucking hate you. So anyway, guys, thank you so much.
Again, the ones, and I do disagree with him, but he does have a good point. But it's the ones that open their mouth on social media. Those are the ones that kill it.
Watching this video,
at least for me.
Hope you did enjoy. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.
Yeah, so it's not like, we can't have nice things when it comes to our games. That's why I'm saying, watch your favorite streamer, YouTuber, whatever. If you're unsure about a game, get their take on it, and then you can make your decision from there, either yay or nay. All right. Okay. Well, we're going. It's been I didn't think I was going to go 2 hours tonight. Shit, I went long over an hour last time. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. But before we go, I want to see if I got it right here. There we go. I want to look at a trailer. I'm very excited about this because I already know what I'm going to be getting with this game. DLC, and we're foretelling. We're going to be foretelling what the future of my streams will be. So let's go ahead and play this and check it out. Tokyo.
How can it be winter all of a sudden?
I'm sorry. You want to know the year? What What a pleasure to meet a stalker worthy of the name. It's been far, far too long.
Oh, my forever friend. Help me to hold your hand and dance.
You're not the puppet I was expecting. Who are you?
I heard she was looking for someone. Legendary. She stepped up only because no one else could. Too many stalkers were lost to that evil.
Wolverine
I'll do
claws.
whatever it takes. Your survival is all that matters. Nothing else comes close, not even my life. I swear I won't be late. Not again.
Oh, yeah, this summer we're going back to Liza P. So I'll have that up on the socials when that's going to be ready. And don't forget, that was my game. Spent over a year trying to play it, and then I'm still stuck on it because trying to fight the final boss and still haven't done it. So maybe I'll go back and finish that. Hopefully that's not one of those DLCs where you have to beat the game in order to get access to it. If it is, then we're gonna have some work ahead of us. But you know, you can check that out by subscribing on Kick. No, I'm sorry, follow me on Kick, subscribing me on Twitch, subscribe to me here on youtube.com/@NashThunderclap. I'm on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, also known as X, where you get all my updates. It's all Nash Thunderclap. And hey, before you walk out the door, if you're watching this later, if you liked it, thumbs up, throw a comment in there, subscribe. It helps me with this algorithm, or so I'm been told. I'm starting to feel a little tired and sleepy, so it is time to call it an absolute end. I felt I got a little bit better, but I still need work to do. Because again, I had a plan and then I just kind of went off the rails. I'm not going to sit here and devote all the time to watching videos, but we have to have something. I got to do a little bit more research to get to where I can get to like Twitter posts and stuff like that. It's just everything moves so fast. I had planned this a couple of days ago, and now the day of, it kind of threw half of that out the window. But I hope everybody is a little bit, please be a little forgiving with me as I kind of keep working on this and improve and try to get better. But even if I get better, it's still going to be garbage because this is I'm bottom of the barrel. I am the scum below scum. All right, King, you have a good night too. I appreciate you being in the chat over on the YouTube side. I appreciate that. And thanks for anybody that stopped by and decided to give me a couple seconds of your time. Join me again over on Twitch. Keep an eye on the socials. It'll be something, whatever I think I'm going to end up doing. Keep an eye on the socials and I'll announce that. All right. Well, thanks again. Have a good night. Take it easy and see you for now.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.